Hey, hey guys, welcome all. We are from Global AI Hub Growth Team, and we will conduct this opening.
webinar together. And
Um, Hello,
hello,
Enki.
Enki, let me introduce
Hi,
Enki.
hi everyone. Welcome to the first live webinar of the
International
International
Bootcamp.
Bootcamp.
As
As
Osman
Osman
said,
said, I'm
I'm
the growth manager at Global
AI
AI
Hub,
Hub,
and I'm
and
very
I'm very
excited
excited
for
for
this
this
first
first
event
event
because
because
we
we
have
have
been
been
planning it
planning it
for a
for a
very,
very,
very
very
long
long
time.
time,
And
and
we have
we
been
have been
anticipating
anticipating
the
the
day
day
that
that
we
we
finally get to
get to
do
do
this
this
webinar.
webinar.
So,
So
welcome
welcome
all of
all of
you.
you,
And I
and I
hope we
hope we
have a
have a
great
great
time.
time.
I
I
hope
hope
this
this
international
international
bootcamp
bootcamp
is
is
going to
going
be a
to be a
very
very
fun,
fun,
interesting,
interesting,
informative,
informative,
educative,
educative,
and
and
full of
full of
networking
networking
opportunities
opportunities
for
for
all of
all of
you.
you.
We have
We have
really
really
tried
tried
our
our
best
best
to
to uh,
put
put
even
even
like a
like a
self-paced
self-paced
courses,
courses,
webinars,
webinars,
workshops,
workshops,
projects,
projects,
real-life
real
challenges, but
but
also
also
fun
fun
events
events
that
that
will
will
make
make you
will
will
help you
help you
actually
actually
get
get
to know
to
a
know
lot of
other people from like any part of the world. And yeah, I am very excited for all of you to come here. I think we should wait a bit more so that everyone can join in, and then we can start. Oh, somebody's saying there is an echo problem. I'm very sorry. I am going to fix that. I hope it's okay now. Yes, now it's okay. They're saying now it's okay. Great. Sorry again.
Yeah, sorry.
So by the way, guys, after Walter finishes his presentation, you will have around 20 to 15 minutes to ask any questions that you are interested in. So during the presentation that Walter is going to present today, just keep notes on the questions that you have, or maybe just put them on the comment section immediately. Like as soon as you think about the questions, put them on the comment section. We're going to select them, each of them, of course, and then ask them to Walter at the end of the webinar. But first of all, I am very curious to know. I'm muted.
They're saying I'm muted. Okay.
Yes. So, is it fine now? Right, guys? Is it fine? Yeah, it's no,
No,
it's
okay.
Okay.
Now it's fine, right?
Can you guys hear me? Okay then. Okay. So, okay, since I was muted, I'm just going to repeat what I said before. I was saying that at the end of the presentation, you guys will have like 15 to 20 minutes to ask any questions that you have. It might be related to the presentation that we are going to present today, so the many whys of data, or it can be related to maybe Walter's experience, his life, like a working life, how he was able to be as successful as he is right now. And also, one question I also asked while I was muted is I was curious to know from which countries all of you are from, because International Bootcamp actually includes people from over 35 countries from all around the world. So can you just guys write in the comment section, for example, which country are you from? Me, for example, I'm from Albania. I can share that information with you. I am from Albania. I work at Global AI Hub, and as you guys all know, Global AI Hub has an office in Switzerland because we are a Swiss-based company, but also an office in Istanbul, in Turkey. And right now, both Ali Osman and I are together in Istanbul. We are working for the International Bootcamp together with the team here in Istanbul. Turkey, Azerbaijan, India, Nigeria, France, welcome. Turkey again, Turkey again, Somalia, hi, East Africa. It's very nice to meet all of you. Pakistan also, Syria also. Wow, it's great to I think we have a German here, South Africa, Ghana, again India, Azerbaijan again, Pakistan, Turkey again. Well, welcome all of you. Germany again. That's great. India, USA, hi everyone. I'm Turkish and I live in Italy. I would like to know how that happened. Nigeria, Germany, Turkey again. But that's great. We love to see from like which countries all of you are from, because at the end of the day, with the correlation program, with global AI hubs community, what we're trying to do is gather the best of the best in the AI field and create a network for all of you guys, with our Discord channels, with our live events, with our coffee talks, correlation meetings, etc., etc. There are more comments coming. Nigeria, Turkey, Turkey again. Tunisia, well, welcome. I think he might be
Gelsin.
the first. From Nigeria, hello. Italy, hi from Italy. Ciao, Italia. I, by the way, speak a bit of Italian, just fun information. I love this community. Well, we love that you're part of this community. Global AI Hub is #1 in the world. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. We're trying to be, at least. We're doing our best. With your help, with our community's help, we think that we will be #1 AI community in the world. So we need all of your support. For example, what you can do to help us is tell your friends about Global AI Hub. Tell them about our self-paced courses, because as you guys all know, they're all for free. So I would love to see all of your friends as part of our community, and maybe they can be our core members, our community leaders, or even thought leaders. So please just tell all of your friends about us, and we hope to see all of them at Global AI Hub community. Somebody says, shall we continue, please? Yes, we will continue in 5 minutes. This is actually the first webinar that we're doing for the International Bootcamp, and we have thousands of people who are part of the International Bootcamp. We wanted to say hello to all of them, but in 5 minutes, Wouter is going to come on stage and he's going to start his presentation. We have people from Pakistan, Barbados. Well, welcome. Will this session be recorded? Yes, this session will be recorded, and it's also being streamed on StreamYard and YouTube at the same time. So if you guys have any problem with LinkedIn, just go on YouTube. It's on Global AI Hub's account, so just write Global AI Hub, and it will the live session will show. Turkey again, California. Well, great. Hello from Turkey, California. What did I miss, Gorkem? You didn't miss anything. It's just we're just trying to talk and get to know everyone, because this is the first live session we're doing for the International Bootcamp. Arzu says, I have told all of my friends and I'm also a core member. Great. Thank you very much, Arzu. We need a lot of people like you in our community, which actually all of you are the best. Because we always say, like, we have meetings with in the team, and then we always say we really have the best community possible. So we're very, very thankful for all of you. Hello from Azerbaijan. Hi, Fatima. Nigeria again. Or are you living in Italy? No, I'm not living in Italy. I just speak Italian. Is there any attendance needed for sessions? No, there is no attendance needed. However, the more you attend to our sessions, the better it is for you to learn. The idea of the International Bootcamp and giving it for free to everyone is so that we can provide education to all of you under our 10-win AI initiation. So we would love it if you stay. But if you don't want to, there is no attendance, no mandatory attendance. You can also see the recorded session on LinkedIn later on and also YouTube. How can I be a core member in Nigeria? You can just shoot a message or an email to one of us, and we will see your CV and your qualifications, and then we will decide if you can become a core member or not. Next time I want Ferit.
Yes.
We will make sure to bring Ferit next time. Everyone wants Ferit. We also asked Ferit to join this session. He also really wanted to. However, he had other things to do before. That's why he couldn't attend this time. But next time, I promise you, Ferit is coming. Somebody asked, what is a core member? A core member, great question. I can explain it to you. A core member is a person, an individual who is either a student doing his undergrad or her undergrad or doing their master's or PhD, who are very interested in learning more about artificial intelligence, Python, machine learning, deep learning, coding, whatever it can be. And they are part of our community. That is basically what a core member is. Community leaders then are people who are a bit more experienced in the field of AI. They have around 5 to 10 years of experience, and we have chosen all of them one by one so that they act as the role of community leaders. So we have this community full of core members, so enthusiastic students in the field of AI. However, for us to provide the best education possible and the best advice possible, we got community leaders for you in this community, from whom you can ask questions about artificial intelligence, our courses, or either about their networking skills or their experience at work, etc., etc. Then we have thought leaders who are influential people in the field of AI. Wouter, for example, is one of our thought leaders. So thought leaders are here for to give classes, webinars like this example, and to also help you guys with mentorship. Very excited to start this bootcamp. So are we. I think, Alison, we can start now. We can invite Wouter slowly.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, I can officially invite Wouter now. Actually, he's here. He was watching it, and then he will come just in minutes.
Somebody asked, why can't I be a core member in Turkey?
Actually, we have closed applications for the correlation program. Yes, I think I can talk right now. We have closed the applications for the correlation program in Turkey. However, we can, if you send an email, we can just check your CV.
Yes, and Wouter has came, and welcome, Wouter.
Hello to everyone. Hello, Ali. Hello, Eki.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, all the rest. Am I loud and clear for you guys to understand?
Yes.
Great. Thanks for inviting me. I'm humbled and that I get the opportunity.
We can't hear you.
No, we can hear you. I can hear you personally.
Oh, I can
Is it
see
a bit? Is it loud and clear? Can you confirm, please?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Very good. I'm actually calling in from the office of a client of mine. I asked to borrow a small meeting room so that I can greet you guys from all over the world to talk a bit about data strategy. So I'm actually in a manufacturing plant. So if you hear noises in the background, that's because they're really at work here. Can be trucks delivering the goods here or tractors passing by. So I hope that doesn't happen, but just that you know. So I don't know how I can present. I don't really have a presentation, but still would like to share some stuff with you guys. I'll click the share
Yes.
screen. Yeah, let's do
Yes,
this.
exactly.
Just trying to share some stuff. Actually, I don't have a second screen, so that's not so easy. Okay, let's do it like this. Can you see something now?
Not really.
No. Okay.
Nope.
Just, yeah.
Okay, now it's happening. Okay, great.
You're seeing a manufacturing plant now? Or not?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So why am I starting with this picture? I'll explain later. But what you see here is actually the part of the site where I am today. This is where vegetables are pre-processed before they go to the next phase in the process. Next phase is that they are cleaned and cut and sorted into different qualities. So what you see here are fine beans that just came out of the cooker. So the beans are cooked. Then they go to a freezer. As you can see, there's snow on the floor here. It's like minus 15 degrees. They are frozen and then they are packaged. So this is me today. I had to wear a cap over my beard, obviously, because I'm in a food environment today. And why am I telling you all of this? One of the things that I strongly believe as a data scientist is that you have to understand the process of your customer. So if you're using data in a certain context, you have to know what you're talking about. So I asked the client, please, can I come visit your manufacturing plant? Because I will help you use your data to create value. But first, I need to know what I'm talking about. So then that's very important in my vision for a data scientist is you have to understand what your customer is doing, how he is creating value for his end customers, what his business process looks like. And only then you can know, okay, the data that I'm looking at, where is it coming from? And how do I have to interpret this? So my own background is not a very technical one. I'm a philosopher by training. So I went into the data profession by chance. Or I wouldn't say really by chance, because you may not know this, but philosophy is actually a very technical and analytical field. We have a lot of formal logic learning. It's almost programming sometimes, really drafting the truth tables on pen and paper, put zeros and ones to watch the logical operators, how they function. It's very good preparation to go into programming. Also, it's a bit of my personal interest, and I'm analytical, but I from myself, not all philosophers are like this. Of course, you also have the guys and girls who love to go deep in more literary topics or more aesthetic topics. But for me, the step from philosophy to data and analytics was actually quite natural. But I still keep this philosophy background in mind when I look at data, mostly to have a unique vision on the way that data moves through an organization, to keep an eye for a different, a bit of a holistic view on the way of how you can run data projects. So not only from the technical point of view, but also from the human point of view. How can a data project start in a good way that it has the most chance of success? How can it land in an organization? A data project is almost always, when it's an important one, in transformational projects. So that's it's usually a lot of difficult change that has to be applied in the organization. And I think as a philosopher, you may have a little bit more of a broad view on data science as a field and on data projects concretely. So I'm going to share my screen again to show a visual. Share screen, this one. This one. So now you should see a sheet that's called how data flows through the organization. Can you confirm, please? Because I can't really double check.
Yes, we can see it now.
So if you have followed me a little bit on LinkedIn, you may have seen this visual before, or if you have talked to me earlier, this is actually an update of the design, because the previous design I did myself and it was a bit, it could be cleaner. So now I asked a professional graphical designer to help me visualize my vision on data. So as you can see here, for me, everything starts with the client. So the client is on the top of the chart. It's the value proposition, why you get the opportunity to work with data in the first place is because your client has a problem and you can solve it using some steps between input and output. So let's take the example of the manufacturer where I am today. The clients are we all. We are the consumers. We want in our home, we want frozen vegetables because it's convenient. You just have to take it out of the freezer and warm it up, and then you have food. So that's the problem they are solving, that we want to eat, really, right? So the client's problem is, I want an easy way to get fresh vegetables. The solution is frozen foods, and I'm willing to pay for this. So that's really the value proposition of the client that I'm working at today. And then between the input and the output, there's a whole process. So in this case, the process is really visual. It's the photos I showed in the beginning of the presentation. It's really the beans going through the different steps, going through the cleaning, going through the cooking, going through the freezing. And then there are some steps afterwards, the packaging, sometimes mixing of different products. But you really have different steps in the process to deliver the value for the end customer. Sometimes parts of this process are not so well defined. So sometimes it's a bit unclear what steps are, or in what order the steps are followed. So you have to keep this in mind when you work with data. Maybe some of the data is not in the process, or so keep this in mind. Then I put people. Of course, people are everywhere in the process, but I wanted to put them somewhere on the chart. I put them. Yes.
I am sorry for interrupting, but some people said that, can you zoom a bit? You know, maybe that would be good. Yeah. Thank you.
So we are, thanks for noticing. I really can't see what you're seeing. So thanks for bringing this to my attention. I hope this is clear. So now we have, I was talking about the value proposition. Now I was talking about the process and the people. The people are the ones going through the process. So putting the beans on the machine, making sure that the packaging is done right, making sure that the machines are run correctly. Also using knowledge from the past to set up the machinery right, to make sure that the production lines are organized efficiently so that the process can run smoothly. Then when does data come into fruition? When is data generated? Of course, this is a bit of a philosophical question, because you have all types of data, like sensory data. The fact that I can hear, see, smell is also some type of data. But let's look at data in the context of a business or an organization. Data comes, in my mind, into fruition when you capture certain signals coming from the process and you put them in applications. So in this case, we have, for instance, when the vegetables come to the manufacturer, they are weighed. So they know how much tons of beans are at the start of the process. So you put this number in a system. Then this number in the system, that's when data comes to fruition, is generated. Then at the end of the process, you can weigh it again, and then you can see, okay, we have so much beans going in, so much beans coming out, and then you also know the efficiency of your process. You know how many you lost due to quality issues or due to waste in the process. Or sometimes you even have more output when you add water, for instance, to the process. So this way you have different data points to measure how the product goes through the process. So these applications can be ERP systems or accounting systems, CRM systems, manufacturing systems, all types of systems where you put the data that is generated in the process. Now, I'm gonna skip one step, the data warehouse, and I'm gonna go to the dashboards first. Why? Because it's in the dashboard that you're gonna generate insights. You're gonna visualize the data, you're gonna derive trends from the data. Sometimes you're gonna predict certain things, but you want to know how is my process doing? How can I improve my process in the future by looking at the data from the past? And then you have the feedback loop with the arrow back to the process, but actually it goes back to all the steps that come before this. And then you know, okay, this feedback will be used to improve my process, but I also have to think about how am I going to use this data? It has to be actionable, so you have to know which action can I take from the data in the dashboard, and how are we going to organize this change in the organization. So as I said before, an important data project is almost always a transformational project. And so transformation means change. How are you going to implement this change in the organization is also a very important aspect of data projects that you have to keep in mind up front. It's usually something that's sometimes overlooked. Now I skipped a step, right? The data warehouse. Let's go there first. So in the applications, you sometimes also have dashboards. For instance, in the plant here where I'm working today, they have an SAP system that's used mostly to track the finances, and they also have operational dashboards in SAP itself. But here at this client, they said, okay, we're going to have operational dashboards based on the data in SAP for operational purposes only. If we want to have an oversight over the whole business, more aggregated types of data, more combination of different data coming from different softwares, then we're going to do this not in SAP itself because it's in a silo, it's not integrated, it's just the data from this system alone. If you want to have a more broad overview over the organization, then we are going to do this in the dashboard. And then you need to step in between, and the step in between the data warehouse, I have called it, there you're going to integrate the data from different sources. So when I am talking about data integration, what I mean is you take data from one system, second system, a third system, and you're going to see how can I combine this data from these different systems into one data model. The data model that I've drawn here is a dimensional model where you have the small t's in the green cylinders. Those are the transactions. T stands for transactions. And then you have the different dimensions coming from the different source systems. So those are the attributes of the transactions. For instance, what product am I talking about? For a transaction could be, for instance, a run through the production line on a certain day or a certain batch, and then you're going in one of the properties of this transaction is about what product am I talking about, for which customer, at what price did I buy the vegetables, and so on. So there you're going to integrate the data from the different sources, and this means almost always that you have to go back to the steps before. So you always have feedback loops. You're never going from top to bottom in one run. You always have to go back to the previous stage, and then you have to say, okay, I would like to integrate this data, but I don't have a unique identifier in the different systems to know if I'm talking about this batch that's run today in this manufacturing system, and I'm talking about this batch in the finance application. Are those the same? Am I talking about the same product? You need an identifier. So you need some type of key, and that sometimes you have to go back to the applications and the processes, change the processes a little bit, maybe add a field here or there, and that in the applications add a field as well on that level, and then you can integrate it in the data warehouse. So it's a constant back and forth between the applications and the data warehouse and the dashboards to make to generate insights in your customer's process and to generate value for your customer using data. When I'm talking about generating value from data, in my opinion, I'll put it like this again. So if you want to read more about this topic, you can just go to my website. All the content that I'm talking about and the visual is on the website. So don't worry if you're taking notes, you can just read it here on xuro.be. One thing I would like to mention as well is to see how can we generate value from data. In my opinion, there are 3 ways. So 3 ways to generate value from data. It's increase your revenue, reduce your costs, and peace of mind. So let's go through them one at a time. Coming from a business intelligence background, so maybe talk about this first a little bit. I often see that data science is used, the term data science is used in 2 different ways. Data science sometimes is used as a container to mean you have the everything that has to do with data in your organization. But then data science is sometimes also used in a smaller way, meaning data science really looking at the data sets to make predictions, to build advanced models, to build more advanced clustering. So first I would like to make a distinction between data science in the broad sense and data science in the more specific sense. And I will always use it in the more specific sense because I see 2 other very important roles in the data and analytics function next to data science, and that's data analysts or the data engineering. So the data analysts uses, well, basically they all use the same data, but the data analysts looks more backward in the past, tries to see where the trends are in the data, more business intelligence like use cases, and then the data scientist is trying to look in the future, trying to predict certain events based on the data from the past, of course, because if you don't have data from the past, you can't predict the future. So that's more the data science use case, and then the data engineer makes sure that both the data analyst and the data scientist can have good data sets that are timely, that are clean, that are accessible for both the data analyst and the data scientist to use. So that's my vision on the 3 roles in the data and analytics field. I know there's a lot of discussion about this, but I also want to be pragmatic and not make a semantic discussion about it. So why am I telling this you first? Because if you look at the 3 ways of generating value from data, so increased revenue, decreased costs, and peace of mind, I always start with the peace of mind part. It's mostly the data, the business intelligence or the data analyst approach. So my motto is start with your small data first and then only then go to your big data once you are sure that your small data is in order. And what do I mean with small data? It's not about volume. It's more about data that's in your system in a structured way. So for me, the small data can also have huge volumes, but as long as it is structured, for me, I consider this small data. It's only when you have unstructured data and streaming data and things like that that I would call it the big data. Maybe I should refine my definitions here a little bit more, but that's how I look at it. So small data first, peace of mind. Peace of mind means that you can rely on your data to take decisions. Also, part of peace of mind use case is know that you are in order with your the compliance part of data that like for instance GDPR regulations here in Europe. So that's the peace of mind use case, and in order to do this, you start collecting data about your processes, putting them in data warehouses, in dashboards, and then you can generate insights about where am I standing now. If I want to go in a certain strategic direction, how will I know that I'm going there? So if you don't have data to follow up if you're going the way you want to go, that's also a peace of mind use case in my opinion. So those are a couple of examples. And then another use case is increase your revenue and reduce your costs. Then you have to look, do you have data in the core processes of your business? Or is the data more in your supporting processes of your business? So for instance, if I look at the manufacturing plant where I am today, do they have data in the core of their processes? I would have to think, but of course they have the tonnages, how much product goes into the process. They probably have the waste as well, so they know that can be an indicator of the quality of the product. Then they have some, how long does it take for a certain product to go through the process? For instance, a leek is very fast to go through the process. It's because it's light, it's easy to freeze. And a Brussels sprouts, for instance, is very slow to go through the process here in this plant because it takes longer to cook, and so it's hotter when it goes into the freezer, so it also takes longer to freeze. So those are really concrete examples of data you have in the core of your process. And then you can look, okay, how are we going to optimize our revenue? Are we really going to focus only on the leak because we can go faster, or do we want a certain mix because our end customer wants this? So those are ways to generate more revenue from your data in the core processes. Of course, I'm forcing maybe a little bit to only pick examples from this manufacturing plant. There are obviously also more other ways to have data in the core of your process. For instance, let's look at another example, maybe also a manufacturer. Let's say you have a manufacturer of drills. So to drill the hole in the wall, then you could have sensors on the drill to know exactly how much the appliance or the drill is used, what type of material is drilled in, how much pressure the drill has to take. So then if you gather this data really about the drilling, then you could try to predict when will the drill break down. So when will I have to replace the drill or have to repair it? You could anticipate this. You could build really a business model around this data that you have gathered in the core of your business business process, being drilling holes in walls. Of course, what the customer wants is not a drill. What the customer wants is a hole in a wall to put things like this on the wall as a decoration or something. So then you can think, okay, if the customer doesn't really want to have a drill per se, but wants to have the hole in the wall, can we rent out drills? Can we organize this? Really a bit of a business model shift that you could calculate the pricing or about using the data in the core of your business process. So that's one way to increase your revenue or to shift your business model using data. Another one could be to reduce costs. So I think if you have more the data in the supporting processes, so if the data that you're gathering is more secondary or indirectly talking about your business processes, for instance, in your accounting software or CRM software, or let's take accounting as an example, where you have you're doing business, and then you have the invoices, which actually are not really directly talking about the core of your business, but more you have to have those invoices, so they're more in the supporting processes of your business. Then you can look for optimizations that way to see, okay, are there overlaps in the things that I buy? Where can I cut out redundancies? More the reduced costs use case from that side of things. What should I talk about next, Inky? Give me a hand.
Maybe if you want to, we can answer some of the questions that people asked in the comment section, because there are a lot of questions coming, by the way. Like, we're telling everyone, just keep your questions for the end of the presentation. But if you want, we can answer some of them now. What do you think?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Then, so the first question that came is actually not related to the topic at all, but I would like to ask you anyways. The first question is, who is your favorite philosopher, actually? Because you said you studied philosophy.
Yes. Well, I changed my mind recently about this. I used to say Socrates because he says, I know nothing. But I changed it recently towards Nietzsche because, he likes to break things once in a while, and feeling kind of violent, So I would say Nietzsche.
That's great. Then let me check. Another question for you. Guys, you were all going crazy on the comment section before saying, can we ask questions? Can we ask questions? So just pop up the questions on the comment section. So we are using dashboards while we are reporting the data we collected, right? Somebody asked.
Let me read again. So we are using dashboards while we are reporting the data we collected, right? That would be my take indeed. Of course, there are different types of reporting. You could look at the reporting from different angles. So if you have a very simple use case, it doesn't always have to be a dashboard. It can also be a list or a table. I don't have to overcomplicate things, but I would say usually there's more value in a data visualization dashboard than in a table or a list. And then you can build it up more gradually. You could say we have one overview page with a couple of KPIs, which are really the key performance indicators, the things you really want to follow up to know if you're going in your strategic direction, which has to be clean and actionable. So you have to compare to the past or to the budget to know if am I really going to where I want to go. But the next section going further in the dashboard could be already a much more detailed view on the data with, for instance, a couple of bar charts or line charts to follow up trends over time about these KPIs, or to have clustering about certain regions or types of customers or products, really allowing to do the analysis about, okay, I see something in my KPIs, but I don't know why I'm seeing this. And then you go to the next step in your dashboard where you can play around with the data, do dynamic filtering, and really drill down to the to discover where actually is the problem. And once you identify this, you can even have another level in the dashboards with really all the details, all the lines, all the invoices. For instance, where you can really see, okay, this invoice is much higher than I had anticipated. Let's open the invoice. Let's have a look why this is the case. So then you have indeed dashboards to report the data, but you can still have different levels of detail in the dashboards itself.
Thank you. Another question. How can we authenticate data? For example, we use watermarking for images. Is there anything for data sets?
I haven't thought about this, so I'm gonna just wing it. But I would think there is depends, of course, why you would like to do this. If you're afraid that someone will use your data without permission, I would think you could solve this a bit sooner than adding a watermark. You should think about the security, of course, of your data. I could imagine a use case where you put a data set on the blockchain and you can see everyone who has ever used or changed the data, really tracking like with an audit trail. It depends a little bit on the use case, I think, Wouter. What do you want to do with the data? Why you want to protect it? How do you want to use this authentication? I would have to think a little bit longer about it. I don't really know about this from the top of my mind.
Okay, then. Another question is coming. When should a business decide to build a data warehouse? Because some companies do not have a data warehouse, just databases exist.
Yes, very good question. I think when they feel the pain, a customer only does something when he really has to, in my opinion, unless it's maybe an innovative R&D project where you know it can fail, because data warehouse projects are complex and often fail. So before you go into this type of project, you have to think about what am I going to take out of this. And sometimes it takes a while before a client gets there, that he sees the value of a data warehouse. And then it depends on the business use case. How will this data warehouse help to generate value for my business and for my end customers? And if there's if there's no use case, then probably it will be very difficult to get the support and the budget to build a data warehouse, because the value is not obvious. So usually if you, for instance, have a startup, those startup guys are usually trying to get the product market fit, trying to generate revenue just to keep the business going. And they're probably the last thing they want to do is build a data warehouse, because it's expensive, it's difficult, and they don't really see the value. So, but once the business gets a bit bigger and the business unit managers get the feeling, I have all this data, I don't know what to do with it, I know there's value, but I can't exploit it, then they might be more willing to invest in a data warehouse, because there you have the use case, the business use case of these large integrated data sets. To link the dashboards on, to generate insights, to give this peace of mind. For instance, in a startup, the founders and the CEOs, they know everything, and they sometimes even know all their clients, so they know where the business is going because they're on top of it every day. But once your organization starts growing, you might lose this feeling with the operations, and that's when you might want to consider more elaborate data warehouses.
Thank you. And then somebody else said, could you provide a resource to learn data warehousing, best practices, a good textbook maybe?
Yes, but I am biased because I'm a big fan of the Kimball methodology. So I know of data vault, data modeling as well, but personally for me, I love the Ralph Kimball textbooks about data warehousing, where he talks about the transactional, the modeling with the transactions in the center, and then the dimensions around, where you have different types of dimensions, slowly changing dimensions of different types. That's a very good book. And even if you don't like it, read the book anyway, so that you at least know why you don't like it. So that's what I would answer. So the Ralph Kimball, of course, there are a lot of other books, but I don't know them all from the top of my mind.
Yeah, thank you for your recommendation. What data analysis is not necessary, I guess, is the question.
Maxud, could you elaborate? Because I'm afraid I'm not really sure what
When data. Sorry.
when is it not necessary?
Yeah, I think it's when it's not necessary. Like, are there any case scenarios when data analysis is not necessary? Yes, is the question.
Yes, I can come up with a lot of examples, but I was wondering, are we understanding the question correctly, or does it mean do you only have when you only need data science but not data analysis, for instance?
Then how about this? We can move on to another question, and then when he replies about the question, if we understood it correctly or not, then we can answer it.
Okay, great.
Another question will pop up on the screen. While technology is advancing day by day, should we totally replace our viewpoint about data and data models, or can we try to upgrade our viewpoints with new theories that come from advancing technology?
I think those are not, those can exist next to each other. I think there's a lot of value that can be gained in a lot of companies from doing the basics right, from setting up really boring data warehouses with just very simple business use cases, but some companies don't even have this yet. So I would say that's where you start. And then looking at more advanced technologies, of course, you should be aware of those technologies, but you also should be realistic whether they will bring value in your organization or not. Because usually when you want to start with the more advanced stuff, first, you have to realize that you need good data sets to put in your advanced models. And if you don't have these good data sets yet, you'll probably be a bit disappointed that you have to start gathering the data first. And when you thought you could already start doing a lot of fancy advanced modeling, when actually you don't have the data yet. And the better the data set, the better your predictive models will be as well. So again, I would say start with your structured data first, make a nice, large integrated data model. And then you can start from this as a data set for your more advanced exercise. Of course, there are always exceptions. For instance, if you're a startup that doesn't really needs a data warehouse yet, but you already have a lot of data in the core of your business process, for instance, in an e-commerce startup, where you have a lot of data about who clicks where on my website, when do I converse, when does a client buy, what type of messaging do I use to convince a client on my website to buy the product. That's a lot of very valuable data for this type of business. And maybe you don't need a data warehouse yet to integrate all your sources, but you could already start using this e-commerce data set to do more advanced A/B testing on the website, for instance. So there are always exceptions to the rule, but so there are certainly cases where you can start with data science and leave the data analysis for later, when the startup starts growing and has more structure, has more bureaucracy, basically, and do then the data analysis part later, when you start to lose touch with all the processes. So I hope this answers the question, because
Yes, it did. Is understanding of data warehouse prerequisite for a data scientist?
I don't think so. I think you can be a very good data science without knowledge of data warehouse, but I'm biased in that sense as well, because I come from the BI side, and there you do have, I see a lot of value in the data warehouse. I think if you're a data scientist in an environment where there is no data warehouse, for instance, the e-commerce use case can be very valuable analysis be done by a data scientist where there is no data warehouse. So I don't think it's a prerequisite. I think you should be aware, because maybe some business question could be answered better and more efficiently with a data warehouse than with the data, more advanced data science stuff. But and if you're then not aware of that data warehouses exist, you might try to build a data warehouse by yourself when you could buy something off the shelf that's much easier. Will maybe also be cheaper, maybe it's really fit for the job. So if you don't know that a data warehouse exists, it's also a risk from that perspective, I think.
Thank you. Then the other question, how to identify a fake data set?
I don't know.
Next.
I've heard it's actually pretty easy to identify, but I don't know how myself. If you turn the question around, how to fake a data set, it's actually not so easy. Sometimes you need a good data set to test some of your concepts, and then if you try to fake a good data set to where you have all the different scenarios that could exist in reality, you find out it's actually not so easy to fake a good data set. So I think the other way around is also true, that it's easy to recognize a fake data set, but I don't know how myself.
Okay, thank you. The other question. I heard big tech companies are moving towards Web3, decentralization. How do you think this will impact the data science field and big data? Because majority of the machine learning, deep learning models depend on huge amounts of data.
Okay, let me read that again. So big tech companies. Web3 and decentralization. I think there are two different questions that are not necessarily related. So I think if you look at decentralization and Web3, that you can identify two different use cases in this field. On the one hand, you have the let's say how you experience the web, where it's more immersive with metaverses and with VR glasses and with virtual worlds. It's one part of the Web3 that's pretty that you see popping up now more and more. That's the one part, and then the other part is in the decentralization part, where you can have blockchains, or you can own a piece of digital assets that are not owned or governed by a central authority, so decentralized. Then you can combine these two. For instance, have a nice Nike sweater virtual in a metaverse, but also in the real world. So if big tech companies are moving towards this, I think there is indeed a lot of data going into this, but I have yet to see how this will impact the data science field. And I think a lot of the use cases will be more similar to use cases in the real life. So then I'm talking about the experience of Web3, but then of course, if you look at the layer beneath, where you look really at the blockchain technology supporting this type of decentralization, that's then another use case. So maybe we can divide the first type of use cases, say the Web3 environment is actually a virtual version of the real world. So you have the same use cases more or less. And then the second one is the blockchain supporting this type of transactions, where you indeed have a lot of data going around, and maybe their data science or ML could be used to optimize this type of transactions, or to look for more energy efficient ways to run this type of applications. I'm not sure. It's not really my expertise, but was just me trying to come up with a sensible answer, I hope.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope the person got their answer. So Maksud explained his question from earlier. He said, I mean, in which applications or business performing any activities on data, example data analysis, will not benefit the stakeholders or may even harm the business? What are the
Yeah.
signs that you don't need service of data science?
Could you please put the question on the screen again? I think I have an answer, but I would
I'm
like to
trying
read it.
to put it on the screen, the question.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah, done.
Yes, of course, there are cases. I think you always should be aware that the KPIs that you are defining will probably have unintentional side effects. If you go too far in one direction, you probably lose sight of some things that are happening on the other side of the organization. So, for instance, if a cashier in a supermarket is incentivized to help their customers as fast as she or he can and scans all the products as fast as can and pushes the stop button, then her KPI is very good because she scanned all the products of the customer in 30 seconds. But then on the other side of the cash register, you have the customer who is frustrated because she cannot follow or he cannot follow putting the items in the cart. She gets stressed because he feels rushed. So then the cashier maybe gets the KPI to a good level, but on the other hand, the customer satisfaction drops because the customers feel stressed. So this might be an example of a KPI that has unanticipated side effects. Should then the conclusion be that you don't need the services of a data analyst or a data scientist? I don't think so. I think you have to go back to the drawing board. You have to define success for your data projects. And then you have to talk to your business, talk to your customers. How do you want to experience our services and products? How can we measure if this is really happening? Will there be other unintended side effects? Probably, yes, but let's be aware and let's not throw away everything because we failed here once. So yes, it can harm the customer and the stakeholders, but that doesn't mean you don't need a data scientist.
Thank you. The next question will show up on the screen shortly. How important is domain knowledge to work in data? How to decide the sector we will work in?
Yes, I think it's pretty important. But of course, I'm struggling with this myself a little bit because I don't really have a sector I work in myself. I work in a lot of different sectors. I have affiliation with the finance function a little bit, but I think that's because I'm more of a consultant type of guy. So I love these different environments to learn from every client how they work and then applying the knowledge about data in different sectors. That's one way to approach it. That would be called horizontal approach, where you have the same function, the data function, being applied in different sectors and different companies, different industries, different markets. You also could take the vertical approach, where you say, okay, I'm now going to gather domain knowledge about one very specific sector or industry, for instance, banking, and then you try to understand every step of the customer journey and also the processes and systems in banking, and then supporting the banking companies with data analysis for every step on the way. I think there's value in both, but you're probably going to have to pick a horizontal or vertical approach, because you could have a horizontal combined with vertical, but it's probably a very small market. How to decide the sector? I would be pragmatic and see where do you live, what type of companies are there, do you more or less like them? Okay, go for this, and then just start in one company, see if you like it. If you like the dynamics in the industry, you can stay there. If you don't like it, you can change. You don't have to be spot on from the first time. You can be a bit pragmatic, move a bit around, see what you like, and then build from there.
Thank you. And then the next question. We have two last questions, by the way. A big challenge seems to be like controlling bias to be responsible for the model, maybe. What approach would you suggest?
Controlling bias.
Yes.
I think if you're already aware that there will probably be bias in the model, that's already good. Maybe the answer should be that you should work in teams so that the bias of one person can cancel out the bias of the other one, and that you can, by working together, get it to a basic understanding with at least the least amount of bias possible, where it is of course very important that you have a diverse team, because if you have a more of a homogeneous team, you'll probably have the same biases. So I think working in a diverse team could already be the first step.
Actually, in psychology, I studied psychology university. That's why I wanted to add like a small comment for this controlling bias part. So in psychology, what we do with our experiments, we have different study groups. So we first make a list of the possible biases we might have, but of course you can't predict all the possible biases that will come out. So if you have different study groups and conduct different experiments, in the sense that you change something to like affect that bias, or to do something to that bias, that's how you actually can approach and how you can find it out.
Yeah,
that's just the psychology part of it.
Sure.
And then the last question is, to what extent can data be affected by cost reduction, or are you totally affected?
Yes, you can be affected. I think if you prove your value, if you don't prove your value as a data in the data function, you will be in the target of the people holding the budget, asking questions. Why does this cost so much? What are those guys and girls doing in the data teams? Why don't we see more return on investments? So if you have to keep in mind that always someone will always look at data from that with that lens. So always communicate the value that you're generating for the organization to your manager, but hopefully also to the big boss, I would say, so that they are very well aware what you are doing, why you are doing this, why is it costing so much, what is the actual value that you are generating for the company. That's why it's also important to define success up front. When is your data project going to be successful? Because otherwise you may reach certain targets where some would say you are already successful, but then the target moves and you get a moving target, you can never reach it. And then of course you can get frustrated because you already delivered a lot of value, but they keep asking for more. So I would always keep my eye on this, and a very simple and pragmatic way to do this, and I did it once in a previous job, is to write some type of newsletter about the data project's internal newsletter, to say we have done this week, we have done this. If you look at the data, this is what looks a bit strange to us. Is this right? So make them think about the data themselves as well, and if you can, of course, add the monetary value of the things that you're doing. For instance, if you discover some type of efficiency gain, you can say, this week we discovered for 60,000 euros of invoices that were delivered but not yet sent out. Okay, that's directly, you can get 60,000 euros more on your bank account because you just have to send those invoices. And if you have, that's of course a very nice use case. Usually it will not be so clear, but communicate the value, I would say.
Thank you very much. And that was the last question, actually. Right. Thank you for answering all of the questions and for the presentation. If you have anything else to add, please do.
No, thanks for
okay.
the attention.
Of course. Thank you for being part of this webinar. It was really a great pleasure to meet you and talk to you. And everyone, a lot of people were asking on the comment section before about the image that you presented on your slides. So as Wouter said before, it's on his LinkedIn profile. So if you want to download that image or to save it, just go to Wouter's LinkedIn profile and like it, save it, and do whatever you would like with it, because they were asking for the image. That's why I'm letting them know, by the way. Then thank you very much. Yeah.
Let me put I cannot see the LinkedIn comments, but here is I'll put the link to the article on my website in your chat, Enki, and then you can post it to the LinkedIn chats of the event.
Of course, yeah. I'll put it on the LinkedIn chat. I'll put your LinkedIn profile on the chat. Then thank you very much, Wouter. Again, I hope we can do another webinar soon together.
It's really my pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye. See you.
See you later.
So yes, the Wouter is gone right now, and I hope all of you enjoyed this presentation and this webinar. I hope that you learned a lot from it, and I definitely did. By the way, I learned a lot of things that I didn't know before. Wouter's LinkedIn profile link is now on the comment section. Just click on it, and then you can follow him, you can connect with him, you can save the image that you guys were all asking for. As you know, this webinar is part of the international bootcamp that we are doing, Python for Machine Learning International Bootcamp. So I would like to thank all of the participants of the bootcamp for being here. I can actually see that there are a lot of people in this webinar. So thank you to everyone for coming, and thank you for all of your questions, for your comments, and for your patience. I hope to see you on the next one very, very soon. And yeah, until then, if you guys want to talk with one another, go on the Discord channel, just go on the voice channels, say, hi guys, I'm here for a talk. And I would like to see all of you talking together on our Discord channel. If you have any questions, make sure to ask us on our Discord channel as well. And yeah, thank you very much. I hope to see you on the next one. Bye-bye.